And greetings, everyone, and welcome to Buzz for Good, where we talk all things nonprofits, the people they serve, and the good they do. And today's show provides another great lesson in why I love nonprofits so much. Say it with me, because they literally do everything. We leap over to Roanoke's West End, where the nonprofit LEAP, or Local Environmental Agriculture Project, recently opened its first standalone market. And here to celebrate the occasion with us is Executive Director Maureen McNamara Best.
Yeah, so on Wednesday, we had our grand opening for the Leap Community Store. It is our first brick and mortar retail store. We have been working with farmers markets since 2009. We manage the farmers market in Grandin, which is Saturday, and now it's almost year round. And then Tuesday in West End, and that one is year round every Tuesday, rain or shine. And we also have our mobile market and our farm share program. So a lot of those are all things that are going out on set times. And so the retail store allows us to be open for more hours and to provide a different opportunity for customers who may prefer to shop in that way, or maybe it works better with their schedule. We really tried to hit 2 shift openings, so our hours are noon to 7, so that we can hopefully meet the needs and times of really different schedules and individuals and families and kids and seniors. And then we bought the building in November 2021.
Okay.
So I have been deep in the weeds of what it means to develop a building.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm sure there are just a few regulations involved with,
Oh yeah, no big deal.
providing food.
Yeah.
Wow. So for folks who live, close to a grocery store or to, a fresh market or where you can get fresh vegetables and all these, explain the need for a market in this particular neighborhood.
Yeah, so there are a number of neighborhoods in Roanoke that there is not easy access to a place where they can consistently get fruits, vegetables, milk, dairy, eggs, what we would call whole foods, that are not as processed. And so for some people, it may be a 2-hour round trip bus to go to a full service grocery store. For other people, the options that they have available don't align with what they want to eat or feed their families. And so in the West End, there are stores within 2 miles. It doesn't meet everybody's needs. And also, this is not full service. We don't have a deli counter. It is really prioritizing fruits and vegetables, because that's what's the hardest to handle, especially in a convenience style store, which there are a couple of, because you have to have refrigeration, you have to have cold storage, you have to really have enough quantity to move through so that the fresh fruits and vegetables don't go bad.
Yeah. What was the response this week to the opening?
It's been great. We've loved seeing people who have been involved with LEAP for years, exploring another way to shop, and neighbors walking across the street, and also totally new people who've never known about LEAP, or maybe as a kid they grew up shopping more in a farm store, and this feels like how they used to shop. And so it's been really great. It's been good to interact and to see people explore new flavors and tastes and options.
Lovely. Well, once again, here on Buzz for Good, joined by Maureen McNamara Best, who is the executive director of LEAP, which stands for Local Environmental Agriculture Project. And they opened up a new this week on Patterson Avenue in Roanoke. And kind of walk us through this was not just let's go, here's an open space and let's go set it up. I mean, this has been years in the making. So kind of take us back to the origin story of this and how you got to this week.
So LEAP started in 2009. It was originally a project of the Roanoke Natural Foods Co-op to start Grandin Village Farmers Market as a way to provide another avenue for farmers to interact with customers and another way for customers to have access to locally, regionally grown food. And so from that really market-based community interaction, LEAP has grown and developed new programs over the years. So we continue to run Grandin Village and West End farmers markets. The mobile market started in 2016 because people wanted to have a farmers market, and it didn't make sense for farmers to set up 10 different times
Right.
throughout the week in an area where they couldn't make it work because there may only be $100 worth of sales. And so with the mobile market, we purchase the food and then we move throughout Roanoke City, really focused on areas where there isn't easy access to a grocery store, and really focusing also on communities where people don't have regular, consistent access to a car. So we serve a lot of low-income seniors, we serve a lot of immigrants, we serve a lot of refugee populations. And so that works really great for those neighborhoods. And the retail store provides another option. So we are still buying directly from the farmers. So it's a wholesale opportunity for farmers. It works for them financially. And then we staff the store, and we're able to operate a pretty small format retail store because we have all the shared infrastructure that's in the LEAP hub. So in 2021, we purchased, gutted, retrofitted a building thanks to funding from both the Virginia Department of Agriculture and largely from the Roanoke City ARPA funds and the Star City Strong Coalition that prioritized supporting and enhancing local food systems. So because we have this whole building, we have all the infrastructure, we have all the cold storage on site, we can handle a small format store, which in other instances just wouldn't be possible. So what we are really looking at is how do we have a diversity of consumer options? How do we have a diversity of options for farmers and food businesses? Some want to direct sell, some want to wholesale, some want to do a combination, because there is no one way that consumers shop. There's no one way that farmers and food businesses work. And so especially coming out of COVID-19, how do we have redundancy? How do we have diversity? How do we have flexibility in order to make our regional food systems stronger?
Beautiful. And it should be noted that consumers can use SNAP benefits in order
Yeah.
to purchase the foods from LEAP. And so go ahead.
Yeah, so anyone who participates in SNAP, Medicaid, or WIC, they get 50% off fruits and vegetables at any of the outlets. And then we also work with outlets across the state of Virginia and Roanoke City to provide that benefit for anyone who shops with SNAP at the Roanoke Co-op or the downtown farmers market or the Salem farmers market. So we're trying to provide options and have it so that fresh local fruits and vegetables can be affordable and accessible to as many people who want to eat them. Not everybody wants to, that's okay, but we want to have those options be reliable, consistent, and affordable.
It's really inspiring and cool having seen, we got the opportunity to shoot some video about LEAP a couple years ago. And, the farmers and farmers both. And when we think of farmers, we're often thinking like out in the rural countryside. But I mean, you've got some really cool urban farmers who just in a variety of different backyards are, growing and providing produce. But like you're this beautiful little nexus between farmers and not just any consumer, but also like, trying to really reach out to low income communities to make sure that, vegetables and fruits and all these things, which can be quite expensive, are affordable for them. It's just a beautiful program. Is this something unique to Roanoke, or is this kind of a model that is gaining traction throughout the country?
Nationally, there are a number of mobile farmers markets. There's this upcoming week's actually National Farmers Market Week. There's a lot of interest and support behind farmers markets and how to bring people together and how to create that space, and then a mobile farmers market to make it more accessible. The retail store, there are some retail stores are hard because it is often a numbers game and a scale size. And so for retail stores that are small format in rural communities and urban communities, the economics often don't work. And the large format grocery stores, they are not going to set up in areas that don't have enough of a high income surrounding them to support it. I mean, it's a business, so everybody's doing market analysis. And so, the work that Leap is doing is very small, and it's not dissimilar from, the way that there used to be small corner stores or greengrocers in a lot of urban areas, and similar like farm stands or general stores in rural areas. It's just as our global national food systems have continued to shift and get bigger in the more industrial food system, the scale has just gone up. And so once you are at a really big grocery store chain, a small farmer can never enter or sell there. So, there are multiple food systems all happening simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
They serve different needs. And how can we really support the community-based food systems that are being guided and supported by the local community members? So I think that conversation is really important, and it still is growing. And I would say in bigger cities, it's been going on for maybe a little bit longer, but in rural and mid-sized cities, it still is pretty new. And I think, the work that Goodwill is doing at Market at 25th,
Yep.
it's modeled on a lot of the, sorry, not Market 25th, sorry, Melrose Plaza. It's modeled on a lot of the work in Richmond at Market at 25th. And so
Uh-huh.
there's a really strong community practice and practitioners learning and trying to navigate a lot of the technology, scale, insurance, legal, financial things of how do you take this system that's really oriented for large scale and make it possible on a small scale,
Yeah.
and make it able to continue to subsist year after year after year and thrive, because there are a lot of barriers.
Right. Well, and you were talking about, market analyses and, the Krogers, the Publix, they're not going to go to a neighborhood like where you're located because there's just not the demographics and the population to, generate a profit for them. And these are for-profit businesses, which makes the work that nonprofits do just all the more valuable because without a nonprofit, none of this would happen, right?
Yeah.
The only food option would be going to the convenience store and buying a bag of chips or a candy bar and a soda. So
Hmm.
what you're doing is so critical. So thank you
Hmm.
for that. Uh,
Yeah, and the businesses that, are in West End, they're incredibly important. And how can we support, augment,
yeah.
provide different businesses that meet the community stated needs.
Hmm. Once again, joined here on Bus for Good by Maureen McNamara Best, who is the executive director of LEAP, the Local Environmental Agriculture Project. And they celebrated this week the opening of a brand new market on Patterson Avenue, right across the street from the West End Center. So another nonprofit that is, providing services for low-income families, really all families who live in that community. I'm wondering, I mean, what inspired you to get into this work? Why do you care about agricultural projects like this?
I have spent, almost 20 years looking at different parts of the food system. I
Hmm.
first started working with migrant farm workers in Eastern North Carolina, and then in Colorado. Um,
How'd you get involved with them?
yeah, so I worked with in college, I was an intern with Student Action with Farm Workers, which is based out of Durham, North Carolina. And they pair um, college students in the Carolinas, and they work some in Virginia too. And then they also recruit migrant college students, and they all come together and they work in a variety of different organizations that are serving migrant families throughout North Carolina and South Carolina. So I worked in Eastern North Carolina with the Farm Labor Organizing Committee, and it was during the Mount Olive pickle boycott. I don't know if you remember that. It was very big for some people, but some people it wasn't as known about. So just trying to advocate for farm workers' rights, so access to bathrooms in the field, breaks, shade, water, and so really just going from migrant camp to migrant camp and talking to people. I speak Spanish. I've spent a lot of time in Costa Rica and Guatemala. Um, and so really just connecting with people. A lot of them were from, Central America and Mexico, and just talking to people and seeing the unintended consequences of large scale food production and what that means for immigrants, migrant farm workers, just everyday people trying to figure out how to feed themselves and their families.
Mm-hmm.
And I also taught high school agriculture. And so I taught horticulture and shop and taught kids how to weld. And I did FFA. So really looking at the more traditional side of agriculture. I've worked in food safety in Boulder, Colorado, and public health, and worked with farmers growing for the local market in northern Colorado when I was also working with migrant farm workers there. So really trying to understand these different aspects of our food systems and what does that look like. And so when I moved to Roanoke to be closer to my family in North Carolina, it just felt like a leap was there, and the markets were strong, and there was a lot of interest and support to do additional work around farming and food systems and food access. And so it's been really interesting and challenging and rewarding and humbling to be able to work in partnership with so many amazing people who are committed to this region in the same way that I am. And what does a new or different or possible system look like? How can we re-envision what food and farming and consistent, reliable, affordable food access looks like, and how can we do it? And I think there's such a great can-do attitude in the Roanoke region that it's made this work fun.
Well, you mentioned that all this started like when you were in college, but was there agriculture in your childhood?
Yeah, my mom always gardened. She had a big garden. A neighbor across the street used to farm, and so she had a front section of his garden. His were all neat, orderly rows, and hers were all over the place. So I definitely garden like my mom does, not like our really sweet neighbor. And so I grew up kind of playing around in the dirt and going to farm stands, and I loved fruits and vegetables as a kid, and I just like have these memories of going to a farm stand and then just like eating so much like fresh produce that for a minute you don't feel great, but it was totally worth it.
Sure.
So just having that constant consistent connection, and we grew up picking strawberries on pick your owns and blueberries. So we're in a really big family, so it was great to have some extra hands to pick berries.
Nice. Do you have a favorite thing that you personally grow?
I'm really successful at volunteers.
Okay.
They tend to do better than the things that I plant. So
Sure.
we have these little ground cherries that I planted a number of years ago, and they just self seed, and they're like these little sweet little bursts of they're in a husk. In any case, they're great. They look like tomatillos, but they're sweeter.
Okay.
So they're just fun. Kids love finding them and eating them.
Nice. Well, one more time, joined here on Buzz for Good by Maureen McNamara Best, who's the executive director of the Local Environmental Agriculture Project, or LEAP, which this week celebrated the opening of its new market on Patterson Avenue. And once again, the opening times are from noon to 7 p.m., Monday through Friday.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Sorry, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay. So congratulations. And for more information about LEAP, you can go visit what?
leapforlocalfood.org.
leapforlocalfood.org. Let me just close out here with, all the years that you've been with LEAP. Is there like one inspiring story that you have about the grower side as well as the consumer side that you like to say, hey, this is what Leap is all about?
Yeah, so the mobile market, I was visiting Westwood apartment complex and Westwood Village in Northwest Roanoke, and it's a lot of Afghan families who live there, and they were asking for specific foods. They were talking to the mobile market manager. We really would like, this specific type of spinach, Malabar spinach. That's what we grew up with, and we'd like okra, and so then the lead team members, they were able to talk to the farmers, and then we had farmers who started to grow the specific spinach for these families who wanted it, couldn't find it in traditional stores. And also, Cam Terry, he started growing okra. He didn't grow up eating okra, and he started growing okra, and it's his favorite food now. And so he has a big okra fest, and it's like, how can we connect over food and also grow that, grow that exponentially. And so now there's new varieties of spinach available locally. And, I have a really steady supply of okra, which I love to eat. And it's hard to find in a grocery store. So it's like, how can we, together have those conversations and slowly grow and change our community food system together? I mean, it's within our ability, as long as we're continuing to talk.
That is awesome. That is so cool. Yeah, you're not going to your local grocery store and saying, you know what, I would really like more of this vegetable. And suddenly some grower somewhere in another state is going to start doing that. It's just you got to take what you can get. But here you are actually providing that for your consumers, thanks to the growers whom you also know. So bravo.
Yeah, and it tastes
Yeah.
good.
All right. Well, Maureen McNamara Best, Executive Director of LEAP, Local Environmental Agricultural Project, and more at leapforlocalfood.org. Thank you so much for coming on to Buzz for Good, and thank you for all the work that you are doing to connect growers with consumers and providing just these wonderful resources for food in the Roanoke Valley.
Yeah, thanks for having us.